Frank and we have Violeta. And today, Mr. Frank wanted to ask us a few questions, specifically Violeta too, because I think she's like new to him. And Frank knows my story already. But he is impressed, I think, with the amount of things you have, Violeta, like your YouTube channel, your
Mhm.
podcast, and how you're able to like grab attention through your content.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, thanks for inviting me, and nice to I guess meet you. Sorry, I'm trying to put this out of my way. Okay. Um, and
Yeah,
because I know I see you on the comment section with me and Lynn go live, so it's nice to actually put a face and stuff.
yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time. Um, we
Maybe this is
so
better.
obviously I found you through Lynn, and I really enjoy watching you guys together, especially like when you're analyzing deals or just looking at properties and things like that. I think that's really special. I
Mm-hmm.
One of these days I'd like to learn how to do that too. But our Lynn and I were just talking about maybe being technologically challenged. I know I am for sure, but we've
Mm-hmm.
learned a lot. Um, so she did share your channel with me a while, and I was looking over some of what you've put out, and obviously I've caught some of your lives together and your videos together. But um, I think one of the questions that I had, and these are probably going to pertain to both of you, but one thing that caught my attention was it seems like your channel is really intentional about serving the Latino community. And one thought that popped into my head while I was thinking about that was,
Mm-hmm.
to me, too, the Latino community is very important, but it doesn't seem like the lack of um, financial literacy. It's not only for us, right? It's across the board. And I think when I was growing up,
Mm-hmm.
the maybe the circles we ran in, it just wasn't not it didn't seem like it was available to us,
Mm-hmm.
and it kept us in a position that you kind of hear. Well, I joke about like the man holding us down, right, holding us back, but
Yeah.
it's I don't know that that's the case. If we And I don't know if we were in the space mentally to take in the information, right? Because it was maybe way over our heads. We didn't understand it. We didn't trust it, maybe for reasons like that. But um, and it seems like you've taken on the responsibility because somebody needs to be talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely is something that like yeah, because the there was always like books and some resources, but back in that day we didn't have like YouTube. Like when I was growing up, YouTube wasn't like that big. Like I would watch YouTube, but it's not definitely as big as today, and definitely not as many channels that are talking about like finances and stuff. So all the information was either in books that we didn't know about, um, or it was through like networking. And of course our network, like I'm first gen, so like who like I didn't have a network that like was dealing with these at all. My friends and like family members or whatever, they were just trying to like get by and just pay their bills and like provide for their kids. So other than that, and it's not for lack of trying. I know my dad tried like several times. Like little things that he did was like to find a school for me to go to, like little things that he can do. I remember he would talk to maybe a client because he's a mechanic, so he would like get people and he might hear about like maybe back then, you still had the CDs with like little programs and stuff. So I remember he would bring like CDs that somebody told him about math or whatever. So other than that, he wouldn't know because it would be somebody that from off chance that he happened to meet somebody that actually mentioned that to him. And so I think a lot of us like grew up that way. And then now that we're kind of like realizing, at least for me, that it has been out there to try to like find, how to do something. There was another thing that I had to um, learn about, was that when you're looking at a lot of these like finance books and you read them and then you try to apply them to yourself, there's kind of a little bit of disconnect, because in the Latino culture, we're more of like collective mindset, right? Like we help our families, and a lot of like, for example, my parents send money. I've sent money to like my grandma and stuff like that. So like that's in our mindset. But then when you see some of these books, they talk about like, oh, just more individualistic a little bit. So I think there was a little bit of disconnect there of how do you like balance that? How do you create like that harmony of, both? Because obviously we live here, so money system is different, but also we feel, we have some cultural like responsibilities that we might feel or whatever. I mean, for me, it's a part responsibility, but also like I want to, be able to help my family as well, because I see I have that same mindset. Like, I'm not gonna just like be the one that's rich and, not be able to like do things for my parents or whatever, or my sister, or even my friends, like, so I think that was one thing. So when I got with real estate, the same mindset was like, I don't see people like talking about addressing what we kind of like are dealing with and our kind of struggles. So that's why I decided to just like, what, I'm just gonna be out there. It's not perfect. It's just, me sharing my journey and then learning. You mentioned a little bit about the technical terms and everything like that. So I know I'm learning them as I go. I learn new things every time. Like Lynn has been teaching me about like, some like rehab stuff and things, because I'm more of like buying rentals that are already kind of ready. And so I didn't really have to do much of like, oh, ARV and how much a foundation costs or how much this costs. So that's like all new stuff to me. So I think just sharing that journey, like it helps people and make it feel more relatable and accessible.
Yeah, I agree with what she said. Like, there's a lot of the lack of financial education is there, and it almost feels like intentional, right? Like, it's not talk about when you go with your friends, you don't ask them how much are you making, how much are you saving, how much are you investing. When you go to school, you don't learn about budgeting, you don't learn about taxes, you don't learn about all the things that you have to do when you're gonna get out of school and then get an apartment and learn about credit score. Like, nobody talks about that, right? So what are we
Mhm.
left behind? Like Violetta says, like re- resorting to books, and the off chance that somebody gives you like a book that you need to read, or like what we did, we went to social media and tried to find people that are like talking about like, what do you do when you're no longer living paycheck to paycheck and you're saving some money? Like, what do you do with that money, right? Like, you just put it under the bed, like
Mhm.
my mom does. Like,
Mm.
there must be a system out there that we don't know. And it's only when you reach that one instance at which you're like no longer just surviving and not longer just paying your bills, that you're like, okay, I have a little bit left over. What do I do now? Like, what is the next step, right? You like level up, and specifically in our community, like she said, we don't really have somebody to like go and say like, oh, this is like this little egg nest that I have. What do I do with it? So I think that, and especially when you go into rooms and you look at anybody that's rich, or anybody has a company, anybody has business, like they're male, they're white, and then you're like,
Mhm.
where are my people? Where is the people that are actually look like me, that represent me, like that I might be more inclined to follow because they have the same experience that I had.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, you're making my head spin because so many thoughts just came out of what you guys were saying. So if it's okay, one of the things, like you mentioned, being first gen, and you guys are making it happen, and you're successful already. When you think about that, was there more pressure on you not to fail because you might be the first one doing this in your families?
Yeah, definitely. I think definitely growing up, you I felt that pressure, especially, me being first gen, but I also grew up like undocumented and stuff. So there was also that pressure that of, not making their sacrifice, like, you know, make it worth it for them to have brought me over here. So you grow up a little bit with that guilt and stuff. And it's something that, like, I do now that we're all stable and stuff like that. It's something that now I have to kind of like have a mindset shift of like, a matter of fact, I think I was talking to Lynn, or I mentioned it on a social media post of how it's kind of like different now going back to school, where I'm just like able to enjoy school and just be able to learn, versus the first time that I went and was going to all these schools, because I was mostly searching is like, okay, what's going to give me the best career, because I needed to make sure that I was, making nice money, good money, so that way, to get out of, the financial struggle that we were in, and, help my parents too, because of being first gen. One of the things is, we're kind of like their retirement plan as well, whether, some people have their views on that, but at the end of the day, like, I'm not going to leave my parents high and dry, especially when they did such a big sacrifice for me to be here. And so, yeah, it's a lot of uh I definitely grew up kind of like struggling with like, oh my god, I gotta do everything the best and everything like that. Even with school, I had to make sure I got the best career. Like, it wasn't even a career that I was interested. It was like, what can I do to that, that I can make good money. And so now that I'm more stable and all that, now it's kind of like pulling that back and just enjoying life on my terms and stuff like that. So I definitely struggled with that basically my whole life. And I think it was maybe this past year that I'm finally able to kind of like chill out and start breathing.
Yeah, I think we have eldest daughter syndrome. Even though I'm not the eldest daughter, we have a big gap between my older uh, brother and sister. So, like, they were out of the house by the time I grew up.
Hmm.
But it is very common for us. And I think not like, at least my parents, they're not expecting me to carry them into retirement,
Hmm.
but like, because you're growing, like, Violeta, you're growing and like you're expanding, you have your own company, and then I'm growing as well. It's not that we're expected, we want to take care of them,
Hmm.
and then we don't feel like that should be that's wrong. We don't feel like we like it feels like it's the right thing to do. And
Hmm.
it's just like our family unit to bring everybody with us, right? And if we know something, like, I'm sure, like, you're like, when I learn about high yield savings account, I'm like, everybody now get a high yield savings account. When you learn about like matching your 401k, you're getting a match and they're not investing. You talk about it and then they're like, well, you don't know what you're talking about. But that's another issue in our family. But definitely, you definitely wanted to include in every single thing that you're learning and that you're moving forward.
Yeah, and just want to mention, since you like kind of like triggered the memory, I was like, it's not like you were saying, it's not like our parents weren't trying, but I think once we start learning about finances, like my parents, like they have been thinking about like retirement. Like my dad's been like, okay, what am I going to do with, with my shop? I'm going to sell it. And then, my mom and both of them were just like saving, but it's just in a regular savings account. And then now, as I'm learning about finances and how much you actually need for retirement, and how much social security they're going to get, like, my dad's already 66, so I think he starts getting his first payment, if he hasn't already, but he's going to. But when I looked at that, I was like, it's kind of like, wow, they're so unprepared. And so I think that's another reason why I felt, because I started, I think, my financial journey when I was 25, I think, when I started taking it seriously and I started learning about it. And then I think that's when it really hit me, like the weight of what that I needed to succeed and everything, because I knew that my parents, wouldn't be ready. And um, so I started working towards it, and I still was just at the surface level. And then now I'm like, oh wow. So the past few years, and so I did certain things to hopefully be able to provide for them and stuff. So yeah, I think that's another thing is like they try, but they don't know, and we didn't know. So yeah,
They can only do the best with what they have, right?
yeah,
We do that a lot, and I think that's true for all of us. Um, sometimes, well, Lynn's aware, but my wife Cynthia always teases because she says I share too much information. But um, so I'm a contractor. I have a lot of wealthy clients that I've worked for, and I will
mhm,
ask them, because it just seems like they have no problem writing me a check, right? So I'm like, what do you do with your money? And a lot of them have been willing to share. Most of them have been in the stock market and things like that. But I think if you don't, I always say, even in this community, the one rental at a time community, that if you get the opportunity to ask a question, um, nobody can give you a good answer if they don't have all the information, right?
mhm,
So whatever the topic might be, if you leave anything out, you're going to get answers that might not help you. So I think that's why I believe that in sharing everything, our bankruptcy that we went through, we lost our properties the first time we tried, all that stuff, and we're more successful at it this time around. We got started in 2020 again, and I still do that. And I'll tell everybody, don't be ashamed to share. There are certain things that you shouldn't, but for the most part, the more information you put out there, the better information you can get to help yourself. Um, and you guys alluded to the fact that maybe the wealthy were gatekeeping all this information, right? So it wouldn't be available to us. But when you're out there searching, and today it's a lot easier with social media, but sometimes you hear things like Lynn just said, the high yield savings account. I still have friends that don't know about that. And I'm like
mhm,
her, I'll share it with everybody. Even though your money is still losing money while it's in a high yield savings account, it's better than having it in a regular savings account, right?
Mhm.
mhm,
So things like that. A lot of people, uh, so in my field, I have a lot of contacts or friends or acquaintances that are Hispanic that don't trust banks. So, like
mhm.
you said, Lynn, they will stuff it under a mattress instead of putting it in a bank. But um,
Yeah, I have a family member that I've recently found out. I was like, "Are you serious?" So, um, there goes me. Like Lynn was saying that, like we start sharing our like what we learned. So I, as soon as like my mom told me about this family member, I was like, okay, the wheels start turning. Like, how can I get him? Because now he has this much. Like, how can he move it into the bank and stuff? To yeah.
You want to be a podcaster too.
It's just like I hear you and stuff. So I feel like a reference that lives in my mind of like back in during COVID times, and there was like a newscaster, and then like the baby came in and the mom tries to get it and everything. I don't know if y'all saw that, but it triggered that funny memory. But yeah, so the wheels started turning on that, on figuring out like, all right, so how do we get it into the bank? Because the bank's gonna ask questions and all that stuff. So
Where you get all
um,
this cash from?
yeah, and it's just him just saving his paychecks, because he's a contractor as well, and he just goes and just cashes it, but doesn't leave it in he goes to check cashing places and just leaves it because he doesn't trust the bank or something. Yeah,
Her
so
mom still like she I open her high yield savings account and she sends like only half her money there.
Mhm.
because she's like, what if I lose it? So I have the other half in a checking account and like a
Mhm.
normal bank that she like likes, right?
Yeah.
But the high yield, because it's Wallfront and it's an online bank, she doesn't really trust it. So
Yeah.
she's like, no, I'm only gonna send like this much.
Yeah, and let me tell you, with since we're talking about high yield savings account, like it took me like a year to convince my mom to move it into a high yield savings account because we're we tend to have habits, and like once you trust like one bank, that's it. You good like trying to move them to anywhere else, and so that's what happened with my mom. And I for a year I was like, "Mom, you need to move it over here, whatever." And finally I convinced her. And then now she's like, feels a little bit better, but she still has that fear because she doesn't know how to, access the app too well. So then she always has to call me like almost every month. She calls me like, "Hey, what's the status?" I was like, "You're good," and but she doesn't want to send any more money over there because she's still scared. But so yeah, we're just still trying to overcome that fear with them. And even with that, with the houses, she knows that I invested every time. Even right now, recently she called me, and because I told her I was going to look for another property, and then she's like, "Why, this is too risky, blah blah blah," and all this stuff. So yeah, that fear still lives there.
It's interesting, like you said. So two thoughts about this round was, one, if your families are anything like my family, and I try to share information about whether it's buying a property, you guys can do this if you want. Um, you should be putting your money here. It will give you more interest. Half of them will think, you know, why do you think you're so good? You think you're better than the rest of us. I'm not going to listen to you. And then the other side of it, like you guys, like you just mentioned, I have an aunt who basically helped raise me, and she didn't trust putting the money somewhere that she couldn't walk in and check on it, right? Because a
Hmm.
lot of these are online savings accounts and they don't have brick and mortar stores. So just over time, I just told her, just planted the seed. If you put this money in a high yield savings account, you could earn this much interest per month, right? And at the
Hmm.
time, like you said, she had B of A since she was like 5, and she was never going to change from B of A, right? So finally, she tested it, so she put some money in the high yield savings account, and she didn't do it. I did it because the tech thing also for her, she didn't want to make a mistake and just send her money somewhere that it was never going to be seen again. But now, and she finally transferred most of it from B of A. So, and now she is earning about 950 a month in interest, and it
Hmm.
costs her 1,000 a month to live, right? So
Oh, wow.
all these months she could have been kind of living for free, and now she sees it. But you're right, she's like, well, I don't want to put it all in one bank. Should we split it up into two banks in case one goes under or something? So that's it's a real thing. And it's nice when they do listen, and it's nice when you're able to help. Like, I feel really great that, so like you, every month I get the statement. So I email her the statement and I say, this month you made $950. She's like, wow, okay. So that's been amazing. But she's always been really frugal and always saving, and she's fine in retirement. But even her financial advisor was telling her, you got to get this money somewhere else because you're making like 0.01% on it. So that was really special. Um, I don't I don't think I asked Violetta, how long ago did you get started, and what market are you in?
Uh, so I would say technically I got started in 2014 when I bought my first house in Virginia, and I started house hacking it. Um, After that, I left around 2017, and then that's when I turned it into an actual rental. And those first few years, they were just kind of like I was just winging it. I didn't know what I was doing, and like the second house that I bought was over here in Texas, and I wanted to do the same thing, but I didn't know anything about analyzing the property or finding a rent market or anything like that. So I just picked a neighborhood that I liked that was close to the school that I was going to at that time. And so of course, the once I left, I house hacked that one as well. And then when I left there, and tried to turn it into a rental, I ended up just paying like I think it was like $200 out of pocket for the property manager because like the I again didn't analyze anything, so didn't realize that the rental market wouldn't cover the mortgage or even to cash flow. But I let the tenant be there because of course I had to, I had the lease, and so then that stayed there. Then COVID hit. I ended up selling that house because I was like, you know what, I'll just let it go. Um, and I took some money out of my first house to buy my first duplex. And then that started the whole multi-family thing. And I think that was in 2021 or something. And sorry, my nose is running. But yeah, so then I bought a house in California and I lived there for like 5 years. I house hacked that one as well. And then I ended up selling. So pretty much all like the houses that I lived in, I ended up selling because I ended up switching my strategy to multi family. And I'm in Milwaukee right now. So I have 3 duplexes there. And then I am trying to see if I could get into the San Antonio market because that's where I'm at now. And I would really like to uh, you know, as I was mentioning earlier, do a little bit of property that needs a little bit more rehab, a little bit more work. Because otherwise, here in San Antonio, the cash flow, the rental market is not, it's not too good to compare to how much you're paying for a property here. So you really have to go out there and find like a more distressed property. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm on the hunt.
Okay. And then I think you got started in 22,
Who, Lynn?
2022, Lynn.
Oh, yes. Yes, I started in 22. But Frank, you haven't told Bella that he is actually in your market as well.
Hmm.
I'm in a bunch of markets. That's what we get teased about all the
You
time.
just spread out.
So we have a duplex in Milwaukee. We have a
Mhm.
triplex in St. Joseph, Missouri. We have 3 single families in St. Louis, and we have 1 single family in Gary.
Mhm.
So it, even though we came into it this time with a lot more knowledge, we still went through a lot. Lynn knows the 2024 was really rough on us. We had a lot of money we had to put in to fix things up and a lot of major expenses. We had some vacancies. We were doing rental turnovers in winter, and that was tough in St. Louis especially. But we came out the other side, and I think we're going to be okay. I'm 61 today, and
Mhm.
not today, but this year, and my wife is ready to retire at the end of this school year. So we're going to have to, I guess, test our portfolio sooner than we had hoped. But I think, and our whole thing was not really to get rich, but just to supplement our social security, and things like
Mhm.
that, to at least be able to be comfortable. So I think we're going to be able to accomplish that. Um, so when we started our channel, in the beginning, it was just to kind of document our journey, um, kind of like an old school photo album, maybe. If the kids ever wanted to go back and see what you were doing at any given time. None of my mom, I convinced my mom back in 2007 to buy a new build in San Antonio, and
Mhm.
my mom and dad have passed, but we were able to hang on to that one all this time. And she had a rental in Sacramento, and she was she was house hacking before we knew what that meant, but she had a house here in Watsonville, California, and she moved into an RV in the front yard and rented out the house. That was the kind of person she was. She was the entrepreneur in the family. My dad was super hardworking, but couldn't save a nickel. And my mom had all these little stashes all over the place. And when she died and we were going through her things, we found all these different envelopes of money everywhere that she had. She did trust banks. And well, actually, she said she didn't trust banks. And I knew she had one bank account, but when she passed and I had to go through her things, she had accounts at like 5 different banks. And so I guess she learned, but she was always saving and she always made it. She went through a lot of hard times, but so I think luckily I got a lot of her in me, so we're going to be fine. If I was mostly like my dad, I probably would be at a bar somewhere spending my extra cash. So I know you're in the military. Do you think, did being in the military have any effect on what your thoughts are about being financially maybe free or more independent?
Yeah, I will say that part of the reason I started like my financial journey was because of the military, because they have a few resources, at least they do try. I remember having some workshops of like, uh, general finance stuff like credit card debt and budgeting and all that stuff. And then they do a little bit. They try not to go too much into it because they're not experts, but they tell you about like our thrift savings plan, which is just basically our 401k and stuff. So talks about that. So that kind of got me a little bit started. I still was a little bit too young to kind of take it more seriously than I wish I would have, because you're young and you feel like you're invincible and stuff like that. And um, at the very early stages of being in the military, I was kind of like, oh, I got a stable paycheck and like roof over my head. I got a job and like I was good, and they paid for school, so I was able to go would go to school. So I was doing good. But then like towards the end when I decided to leave, I definitely was started especially I think COVID was one of the things that just kind of like had me a mindset shift of like, I think I'm just ready to go, because I think I got spoiled during COVID with being able to telework, and everything kind of like slowed down, because before that it was like go go go, and like waking up early, being just losing sleep and everything like that. And then COVID kind of just like put a stop, and it let me kind of just like breathe. And I was like, actually this is probably like how I would want to live. And so I think it was like 2021 actually, yeah, which is why then I shifted over to a different strategy, because I started taking it more seriously. I started focusing on what my plan is going to be to get out. I wouldn't be able to get out until last year, because I had a contract for I they paid for my degree, so then I owed them 5 more years. Um but in that time I worked on paying down my debt. I worked on just getting skills and building this around, I think I started 2022. I think I started doing um doing the podcast and stuff, the other podcasts. And so then I started kind of like branching out and finding things for me to do that I could probably start making multiple sources of income, and of course, real estate investing, but mostly reducing my expenses, figuring out where I was going to go. So I decided San Antonio because lower cost of living, and part of the plan was to buy some land and live cheaper, and eventually off grid, so I don't have to like worry about. I will say California spoiled me because I had solar panels, so I didn't have like those bills and stuff. So definitely want to go back to that. could get some solar panels and some off-grid stuff and growing my own food and stuff like that. So yeah, for me, the military definitely was, I guess, the awakening period of my financial journey, and then allowed me to set myself up because I was able to get my degree, which and then of course right now going back to school and just having the ability to buy, like, houses and rental properties and all that, and I got a few connections, some networking stuff, which is who ended up putting me on Milwaukee. Was actually another military guy that was investing there. And then now I'm just yeah, now I'm kind of like at the end part of that plan, because now I'm doing it, and now it's just like um focusing on scaling now.
Well, um, one of the thoughts I had before we came on, and something I struggle with the channel, because and you both do this too, as far as sharing the hard times, along with the good times. But how do you balance being transparent about your journey and that it's not passive income like social media puts it out there to be? I'm always afraid that I'm scaring more people away than I'm helping get started. So how do you guys feel about that?
I think that, like you said, it is hard because I think Violeta and I, we mentioned, at least I mentioned, that I haven't been able to take one penny from the profits from real estate, but a lot of the things that were self-inflicted too. So like I know, but it helps that um I know the first 5 years suck. It helps to know that like at one point it will turn. And it also helped, I think, the first time that I invested in a real estate was one property, was for 1 year, and I didn't have any problems. So I do have that like early memory of like what is to be stable doing real estate. And then that I know that all the things that I'm doing right now, for example, front loading new furnaces, front loading new roofs, front loading like new water heaters, those things are gonna last me 5 to 10 years, hopefully more, right? And then so I that's a headache that I'm having now, but I'm not gonna have later.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely it's one thing that me and Lynn are trying to figure out, because one thing that I was telling her when I told her, like, let's start a podcast together about just specifically real estate, is that um I'm having a hard time, yeah, overcoming that fear for people in our community. It's it's kind of, we stick to what we know. So once we learn, like, okay, we just worry about paying bills and savings, and then that's pretty much it. So then once you get to kind of like, oh, investing, like we're barely at that point where I've seen kind of the shift where people are like now actually taking 401ks seriously in their careers, because I know a lot of people, like my mom is one of them, and I know I had access to it before the military at onesie, twosie jobs that I had, but I didn't take it seriously because I didn't know what it was. I just knew it was stocks. And, the people that work where my mom works, they all have access to 401k, but nobody like is really taking too much. Like they send something and I asked my mom, and she's like, yeah, they told us about, 401k and just to send money. So I just sent, like, I forget what she told me, but it was like a low amount. And I was like, okay. Uh, but yeah, overcoming that. And then with real estate, it's definitely a big risk. And it's a little bit, for them, sounds very complicated. So I try to definitely be transparent. And, we just did an episode of where we went over our whole, last year's, how our real estate did. Mine didn't do well last year. I had so many, much things. Plus, I had a new property that I was like turning over and updating stuff, like how Lynn said, front loading some stuff. And so it's just a balance. But I also try to share some of the small wins. And I think that's one of the things that our community, at least I dealt with it, that we don't tend to look at the good things that come out of things, or celebrate like smaller milestones. Because when I look at like my real estate journey, I'll be like, man, like I don't have enough of cash flow that I would like to replace. My whole goal was that I would replace my military income with just the cash flow, and I'm not there yet. And so it's a little frustrating when I look back and I say, oh, I've been investing in real estate since 2014, technically, and stuff. And so you tend to see, like, oh, is it still worth it? But then I actually reflect on what real estate has allowed me to do. Number one, reduce my expenses throughout all those years by house hacking. Then I was able to leverage that, and that's how I ended up being able to have my daughter, because through real estate and being able to leverage, the equity, I was able to pay for like fertility treatments and a full surrogacy journey. And the cash flow allowed me to pay all of that and stuff. And so, oh, and then when I sold the house, California, which was the main reason, was because I had taken a home equity loan on it, was I ended up being free and clear of that big giant debt, and still had extra income to where I bought another rental property. So I think that's one of the things that we tend to kind of see, some of the like the bad things. And so it's definitely a hard balance. And I think, me and Lynn are still trying to figure that out, how we could, encourage but not scare them away, but still be like realistic.
Yeah, and I also think about like, what if you didn't? Like, if you didn't invest in real estate, what if you didn't put your money in properties? Then
Yeah.
what kind of position would you be in? Just working that W-2 that you have. Well, I'm still doing it, but working that W-2 that she has, possibly not even still dealing with her fertility journey. And she wouldn't be having this land and this new home that she's creating, like a whole, her whole community around her whole new family. And she's
Mhm.
venturing into a different type of business, like content creation and podcasting and all of that. Like, that's what's allowed her.
Mhm. Mhm. I would say, like, I think Michelle Meyer says, being transparent is helpful. And if someone starts thinking it is easy, then they will fail. And that's the kind of balance that I want to have as well, is definitely not make it too easy, because I feel like, yeah, Frank, like you said, sometimes social media is like, oh, just get this. It's so easy. Just go get this and that. And so many new investors fail at it because they don't realize how much work, and that is not that passive. I know I thought that when I first started. I was like, oh man, yeah, I'll start making money and be passive and not do much. And now I know it's more work. And I'm definitely like how they mentioned that you need some resilience and stuff. And I will say that in our community we do have resilience, but it's just sometimes the fear overcomes that. And it's hard when you don't know the other side of what's possible with real estate, for them to be able to see that. So I think that's one of the things we just have to show, like what's all possible. Like, obviously they know you can make money, but like Lynn's over here, lowering her costs. I was able to do my stuff, and and you're going to be able to like now retire and stuff like that. So I think that's what we need to show a little bit more, but still be honest about it. And then I think over time, similar to 401k is a little bit different, but I think we made some headway with that by showing, you know, the system, like, hey, just max out and all that stuff, and how it works and all that. And now people are actually investing more, and I see more of our community investing in their 401k and maxing it out, because now they're not too scared to put it in there. And even with the market and stuff, like the stock market, because that's what a big fear was for them, that they would just lose it. And I think that's just what we have to do with real estate now. It's just going to take I think some time before that mindset shift happens, I guess.
Yeah, it takes time. I think one of the biggest benefits, like they say, is time in the market, right? Because over the years, like, so we just finished year 5, and we're just now seeing some stabilization where the accounts are actually growing instead of being depleted every month.
Mhm.
And but that's 5 years. Everybody's nobody wants to wait 5 years for anything
Mhm.
these days. And so proof of concept is important. I never thought I would be in a position that I could help someone in this scenario, but after 5 years, someone just emailed me this morning asking me questions about a closing statement.
Mhm.
And I would have never thought I would have had any information that was valuable to them, right? Um, and it is nice in all of the lives that we attend and things when people share their parts of their journey. There was someone a few months ago that mentioned he hadn't spent any of his money from his rentals. It was 4 years, and he finally just took some out.
Mhm.
So it's nice to hear, because our first 5 years were pretty rough, and I was constantly wondering, is this ever going to take off? Is it ever going to work? But as you guys alluded to earlier, if I think we probably have about maybe $300,000 invested, right? Of all the
Mhm.
properties that we've purchased. And if we didn't put it into a property, that money would just vanish on something, right? Um, my work vans need tires or an engine or whatever it is. But so for me, it's safer for me to put it in a property, and then you'll always find a way. It seems like I've always found a way to come up with that money when I need it, even though, I put the money in for a down payment somewhere else. So I think, like you said earlier, Lynn, if we had just left that 300,000 in the bank, it would be worth less today, and it wouldn't last us very long if we had to live on it. So I think we made the right move. And, you know, joking with Flavio there on his comment, I think when I say I hope we're not scaring more people away, you know, maybe I'm scaring them away so there will be more deals left for us. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Um, yeah, that's a big hurdle that I'm still trying to figure out how we can get it done and stuff. So yeah, it's like, the properties that you have is not just like, the cash flow, but like if something happens that you need to pull out like a little bit of equity, you have that there, and it continues growing and stuff, and you can still keep the asset. Like Lynn, she takes out HELOCs and stuff, so
Mhm.
but she still has the asset still, but it's able to leverage that for her needs or whatever. So yeah, I think that's the problem, that people can't see all the possibilities with real estate and how it could, change, your, I guess, your life, even if it's just, cutting down your costs by having an ADU in the back or something. So yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. I think for us, it's not that great yet, but we do have options today that we didn't have 5 years ago, right?
Hmm.
And every year those options get greater and greater if you're smart with your properties, right? You don't
Hmm.
just cash out every time you can and go blow the money on something silly. But I'm grateful to, and when you realize something like that about the new options that come around, and even just with the information that you gain along the way, right? It's like, wow, I didn't know I could, do a HELOC on an investment property or
Hmm.
things like that. So all the financial literacy and all the other knowledge that we've gained so far has been really awesome.
Yeah, Violetta's
Hmm.
like debt free right now. Well, like not the mortgage, but she doesn't have a car loan or anything,
Hmm.
or student loans
Oh, she,
whatsoever.
Yeah, I
yeah,
And
don't
then
have
she
anything.
moved. She moved to like a lower cost of living area, so she makes it very appealing to like sell your house
yeah.
and
Oh
move
yeah.
out.
Yeah, I
Just
did.
like adoption, right? But yes, we'll see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's part of our plan, Lynn, to sell our house here in California and go move someplace less expensive to get out to get out from under our mortgage, because that's a big one. It's $3,000 a month for us here. And if we could go live somewhere else, we've even actually kicked around the thought of renting, because renting could be less expensive for us. We wouldn't
Yeah.
hopefully have maintenance or anything on the property, of course. Hopefully we'd find a good landlord that would take care of the place, that but I never thought I would want to be a renter. All my life I never ever wanted to rent. And I don't know why I felt like that, but
But y'all could also like, rent in one spot and then, in a few years be like, you know what, let's go move to this state. Like y'all, it's definitely more flexibility, still reducing your expenses, but then you have like, hey, let's go, I don't know, whatever state you want to go to and explore there for a bit and then go on and do
and move
that
on.
way. Yeah.
Because the other important thing, I think I can say it comfortably here, out of all the places that we consider moving to, two things: you can't choose your neighbors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you bought a house and you end up with a crummy neighbor, then you're kind of stuck. But if you're
Mm-hmm.
renting and you can check out the area, then you know better if I need to move, right? Because of this neighbor or whatever, then you have that option. It's a lot easier to move if you're renting. And also, some of the other states that we've looked at, I wonder, what if they don't like brown people?
Yeah, that's definitely another thing to worry about as well.
Mhm. So,
Where you
yeah,
can go.
yeah, I think maybe you're getting a picture of how weird my mind works, but
Oh,
I,
that's always in the back of my head. Even right now that I'm going back to school because now I have to go into the city where that's a, a a risk,
a
I will
concern.
say.
Mhm.
So I just gotta make sure I got my stuff. So yeah. So yeah, that's definitely one thing. But yeah, that could be I know some people that do that or some people that just they go and just rent in different countries and just travel, and that's how I've been following this one YouTuber and that's what she ended up just doing, and I just was like, oh, that would be nice to do. And then that's how they're living. They don't have like a home base anymore. I think they sold their property wherever they were living at, and now I just see their YouTuber. Oh, now I'm in Thailand and we're here for like 6 months and so on and so on. And I was like,
There's a couple that's coming to the conference in Vegas that they did traveling for the last 2 years thanks to
mm-hmm,
their portfolio, and then they
yeah,
just came back.
yeah,
Yeah.
that
Well,
would be
They're gonna
nice.
talk.
I we've been on for a little while, but if it's okay for one last question,
Mm-hmm,
you in your description, Violetta, on your channel, you talk about side hustles. And I
mm-hmm.
was telling Lynn before we came on, I'm trying like everything. I haven't landed anything yet, but I wonder if you've had any success or failures that made you, well, maybe
Um,
successful side hustles, I should ask.
so with some of the side hustles that I've done was either, yeah, trying to make income or kind of like offset whatever my expense. So one of the things that I used to do back in the day was I like to go thrifting, and then I ended up finding the reseller community at that time. So then my goal was to find things that I could resell, like like Tory Burch or whatever, those luxury brands or whatever, to offset what I thrifted. And so
Mhm.
that worked out well. And then eventually, like I would make some money off even on top of that. So that was one of the side hustles that I would do, and I was always down to do like anything. Like if you want me to watch your kid or help you go do some chore or whatever, like I'm always down with that. Like trading something, especially in the military, we kind of always trade. Like, oh, I'll help you move or do whatever. And I use that a lot. Like I don't know how many people I paid with pizza and beer for to help me with my first house for things, and every time I move because I move so much. But also I had chickens at some point, and I did that again just to offset their 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 expenses. So most of my side hustles were mostly like offsetting what I already was using. And then now I'm doing YouTube, this podcast, of course. And now that I'm not working, I'm definitely taking it more seriously and actually trying to make income. I've made a few dollars here and there from like affiliate links or whatever, but not enough to kind of like, start making some stable, decent income. So I'm hoping that we could start making some income with YouTube. And then I think that's the only side hustles, especially well, eventually with the land and start growing my food. That's gonna be another side hustle where I kind of like, sell whatever extras I have, especially once I start like the canning thing and stuff. I can't decide if I'm gonna do bees or not. So that might be in the future too, where I sell like honey or whatever. So yeah, the wheels are always turning. But again, most of my side hustles is trying to reduce like my expenses for the most part. And then if I make a little bit extra, that's nice.
Yeah. Did you say, is Michelle on one of your channels? Is she on your channel, Lynn?
No,
I found
might
her in
be.
the chat
Yeah.
earlier, but yeah.
So Michelle Meyer, she's a good friend, and she, like you, wants to do that. She wants to grow her own food, and she has a
Mhm.
beautiful garden. She's in Washington State.
Mm.
So maybe eventually you guys could connect. She
You should plug your channel, Mi Tierra Libre.
Oh yeah. That's another one that I started. So now I started a new YouTube for homesteading because I don't see another like I think I see maybe one other Latina homesteader, but now she kind of turned more into like van life now. So she started that thing. So so I've started a channel for that and it's doing well. And going to show my journey of setting up, which yeah, Michelle probably could help me out on starting my garden. I did it in Ramona, but that was like the first year with the chickens and stuff. So now I have to do one here. Eventually I want to do an orchard in the front because I have a very super long entryway to get back into the house. And then of course my garden and everything. So that's in the works. So yeah, have that channel on YouTube. So a few things that I'm side hustling to hopefully something hits and plus I enjoy it too. So
yeah, nice. I think Flavio was asking if you're in school. Are you a school member yet?
me?
No, not yet.
No, not yet. Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever want to try it, I think Mark still has some 1 month free. So if you sign up, it's $20 and then he'll reimburse the $20. And then if you don't want to continue after that first month, you don't have to, but that might just be something you want to try.
Okay.
And even if he ran out of those offers, I will tell him to give you a month free. So
I thought you were gonna say I'm gonna reimburse you for the $20.
well, if he never did, I would gladly do that. But it takes time. A lot of but it is a good place to drop questions and concerns because there's now what is there like 500, almost 500 people in there, and there's a lot of experience in there. That's one thing that we have our Wednesday accountability calls, and I always say I'm not the most knowledgeable person, but bringing everybody together like that on Wednesdays, there's so much knowledge, so many people in different states doing different things. There's a few in Texas, and it's a good networking as well. So you're always welcome to join us if you ever.
Michelle is saying to move to San Antonio. That's where you're gonna.
Yeah, let's all move to San Antonio. And then we all just decide to grow specific things. I still need to find someone that's because I don't want to raise cows. So someone needs to raise cows and someone needs to raise the chickens to eat because I can't do any of the butchering or anything like that.
Yeah.
I could raise them, but I can't I want and process them, but I don't want to be the one that
You could benefit from
has to
a
take them.
contractor moving to San
That
Antonio for
too. Yeah. Yep.
sure.
Yeah, yeah, I know you have Lynn, but if you ever have any questions that I can help with, just
Yeah, I think
shoot me
that's
an email.
my biggest hurdle right now is understanding how much things cost when looking at a distressed property. So it's a
Mhm.
learning curve right now. Kind of frustrating me because I'm like, "Ah, I'll just go back to Milwaukee and just find." And I did that the other day. I looked, I was like, oh, look at all these properties I could possibly get that are so much easier. But I think
Yeah,
I'm being a little stubborn right now. I'm giving myself another month. If I don't find something, then I'll just go
but
back to Milwaukee.
we have a couple of friends. So Cody is in Wisconsin. Have you seen the weather there? They were like -8 yesterday or something like that. So I think you're better in Texas.
Yeah, that's what I want. And yeah, that's yeah. Uh yeah. I saw a whole bunch
Michelle
of
says we
snow.
can do a compound, no cow, goats for birria.
Yeah,
That's
goats.
nice.
I haven't decided if I want to keep goats because, like, will I drink? Because I don't drink milk. I don't like the taste of it. I'll eat cheese and all that stuff, but like milk by itself, like, ugh. I'll eat it in cereal, but I prefer like coconut milk. The taste is better. But maybe I might get a few goats because I have a lot of stuff that they could eat. So yeah,
I think Michelle would even be okay with your off the grid version. So
yeah.
you, you really need to check in with her.
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to be cheap and figure out how I could put the solar panels myself. It looks complicated, but like I refuse to overpay and stuff. And I was like, it
I
doesn't.
got solar panels, and this is not an ad, but the cheapest ones that I had were Tesla, actually. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I might. I gotta figure out how, because the hardest part, the is paying someone to do it is like the what's costly. They charge so much for it. So
Yeah,
I'm
and
trying to learn and hopefully not electrocute myself. But
electrocutors.
I feel
and
like if I have a degree and another one on the way, I think I should be able to figure it out. I can follow steps. So yeah.
there's a lot of good content, and it seems like it's a lot easier these days to do it yourself than it used to be. But I think, and what's her name on the Bigger Pockets Money? Her,
Ashley?
Bigger pockets.
no, it's
No.
I forget, but her and her husband have been doing like slow burrs all these years. Anyway, her husband did theirs, and she was saying that it's not worth it to buy them. It was only worth it for them to do it. The return on investment, because it takes so long to make your money back if you pay someone to
Mm-hmm.
do it.
Yeah, because when I bought the one in San Diego, I got lucky that they were already paid off. But I think they paid, and of course, this was like way back in the days when they had purchased them. I think it was like 25K or something like that. So I've been, like I'm deep into the YouTube of homesteading and off grid right now, and so I was like, there's two girls that I follow, and they did theirs, and I was like, I could do it because I can, and they did it. Now it's not perfect, and they still need more. I think maybe a few more panels to cover most of their stuff, but I think it's just more like tedious than um hard, I guess, from what it looks like. I haven't tried it yet, but yeah, a lot of people have done it themselves and bought like used solar panels and stuff like that. So
Yeah, you could
that's
save
gonna be a
even
project for next year. Hmm?
Would you
yeah, I
put
don't
them
know.
on your roof or would you put them on the ground?
No, so I think I haven't decided if I want to put them in the front because I have like a very long driveway. Like my land is shaped like a flag, kind of. So it's like long strip, and then the big bulk is back here. So I was thinking like maybe I could put them up there and set up like a water system there because that's where I want to put like some fruit trees and stuff, and then a whole setup, or I do want to do a carport or garage for the cars, and like little workshop because my husband and stuff, and then maybe put them on top of there. So
This is not, I don't know anything about this, right? But I know like the further away from the house, from the main electrical panel, is the more resistance the cable carries. So the
yeah,
less energy you're able to fit into the house. So the closest it is,
yeah,
like the
yeah.
best.
Well, I wouldn't put them like so far, but just like a little bit that way, so they're not like on top of my house or whatever. So I don't know yet. I haven't decided. That's like a project that I'm probably gonna plan for next year. I think this year I'm just focusing on getting my chickens back and starting the garden.
Lindsay, James was asking for the links to your guys' channels.
I
Are you
put in the link for Money Cheeseman and then mine, I guess.
Yeah, I'll put it. Let's see.
Yeah, that's mine.
And then this is the channel where we were for me and Lynn.
For a podcast.
Yeah, how do I put it? How do I type?
I want to be like Fran and feel like my accounts are increasing instead of decreasing.
It took so
I'm
long,
gonna
Lynn. I
have-
couldn't believe it.
Frank is gonna kill me, but I did put an offer on a house yesterday. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
Oh,
Disclaimer: I didn't get it, but
I knew you couldn't resist.
I knew she wasn't going to either. I was like, oh.
I was telling the people on Friday that on Thursday a brick house came into the market for $38,000, and I know it's a gut, but I know ARV is like 175 or higher. And then so I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna call my realtor and find out like what's going on with, is this a glitch? Like, because it looks like it's okay. It's gonna be a easy flip. And he's like, oh, let me find out for you. And it was one of those houses that are on the Home Hut store. I didn't even know of this website, Home Hut store or something like that. So it's federally owned. So it was supposed to be an auction. He calls me back at like 6 p.m. and he's like, I only brokers that are HUD approved, they can place bids on this house, and I'm not able to get one today. I'm gonna connect you to another realtor. So another realtor calls me at 7 p.m. and then like basically she's like, oh well, you can't see the house before you go in. So it's like sight unseen that you have to place a bid. So I placed a bid. And then she's like, most likely you're not gonna get it. No, I was just like, well, I'm a very lucky person, so we'll see. Okay. And then I didn't get it, but it was
Did
it
you
was
did you say
definitely over the course of like one day, and then they're like, we have 4 more hours to close the bids, like 7 p.m. their time, which is like that was like so last minute.
did
See,
she
that's
tell
how I
you
almost ended up with that other property. I just did it on a whim, and that's kind of good that I didn't get it, because then I would have been like trying to figure out, scrambling how it's gonna get the rehab money.
Yeah.
So.
I was just wondering, Lynn, did the lady say, is this Lynn? Frank just called us and he said you don't need another house yet.
No. It was such a good deal if I was to get it. That's the thing. It was like, yeah.
And Lynn, you mentioned you got solar panels.
Mm.
Bill O'Connell was asking a ballpark cost on solar panels. I think his house is 1,500 square feet.
Oh, mine is 1,400 square feet. I have 21 panels, I think. And I did this in 2020. So this was with Tesla, and they charged me $15,000. I did the one-time payment, but if you did like monthly payments, I think they have like a 10-year program where you can pay like $95 a month or something like that.
That's not bad. Yeah, way cheaper, because I think here in Texas it could get up to like 250, 300, depending how big your house is and how much you run your AC, but like at least $200 a month for electric.
Yeah, and
Especially, and in the summer it's like 300.
I tried so many different companies where like they were quoting me 24 to like $30,000,
Mhm.
even Costco. So I was just like, oh. And then I don't know if you guys ever been to a Tesla website. It's like you have like three options. There's no negotiation. The price is the price, and like they like give you your credit, whatever. They like check your credit instantly, and everything's like checkout. It's kind of like Amazon for anything.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'll start searching. Maybe I could get the used panels and just hire like an electrician to do it.
Yeah.
Make sure I, you know, do it correctly.
Yeah, though we have it's not really the same thing, but we bought like one of the water conditioning systems through Home Depot,
Mhm.
and we probably paid double because we financed it. So that's the
Mhm.
other thing. I don't know how much interest they put on those payments or anything like that, but there's something to keep in mind. Lynn, are yours on the roof?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Can you see the comments that come through my channel too?
Some of them. I
Oh,
think I'm not.
I see Bill O'Connell and
yeah.
uh yeah, some of them. It didn't let me put in the chatter. I don't know what, but yeah. Let's
Yeah, I
see.
think it's part of the learning process. For us, I think if we did look into solar panels, um, but I wanted to put them on the ground right next to the
Mhm.
house.
Mhm.
And there at the time there were some companies that didn't do that. I don't know why, but maybe it's the type of foundation that they need to put in place before they set panels out there or something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe.
I love my solar panels, though I haven't paid like for electricity for like 5 years, and I used to spend like $1,000 every
Mhm.
2 months. In LA, is every 2 months that you pay like on electricity. So
Jeez. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm not liking paying electric right now. So, and eventually I want to barely pay for water. I'm gonna set up some water systems for like the garden and stuff. And so really hopefully only just pay for like when I shower. That's it. And drinking water. But
Well,
yeah.
if you're off grid, then you most likely would have a well anyway, right? So
Uh if I dig a well, it's gonna be expensive though. So because I'm hooked up to the water, like the city water and stuff. I don't like their water though, but
well, then, yeah, you could do rain catchment. I'm sure you've seen all of that in the channels that you
Mhm.
watch, rain catchment systems and things like that. If you have a bit of property, you can have larger rain catchers. You know,
Mhm.
um, I the ones I've seen look kind of like big solar panels. It just a panel with a gutter on it, and then that diverts the water.
Mhm.
I'm like
Yeah.
thinking like if the apocalypse comes in, we're driving to Violetas.
Y'all could come over here. Like,
Yeah, I take over and
it
like
will
take all
help.
the
We could
houses
just
or like
grow food and stuff, and
Do you have a bomb shelter?
I'm I have been thinking about this. Like, should I do one? Should I not? And the reason why is because like potatoes and all those root vegetables need, to store them in, so then I could double as a bomb shelter. So
Mhm.
that's how I was rationalizing it. It's like, well, I need somewhere to put my vegetables anyways. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Like the root cellars, I'm sure they did that in tornado country and all that. It
mhm.
doubled the root cellar doubled for shelter. So
Yeah.
I think if you do a bunker, you're gonna explode on the line. So maybe do it for the views. I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I was thinking that, and I'm still debating if I want to do like a little fishing pond or not. Um, but that's future projects, way future projects, past probably in the next 5 years. Got to set up first right now.
Mhm.
oh,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
awesome. Um, I have tons more questions, so maybe in the future we might be able to get together again. I it's been a pleasure meeting you, really. And thanks, Lynn, for asking.
Yeah. Please don't forget, we do put the YouTube channels for Violeta and for I on the chat if you want to check us out. And our podcasts come out every Thursday, whatever you listen to a podcast, Real Stay Jefas. And we'll see
Mhm.
each other